welcome to this week's webinar. My name is Joel Markham. I'm the CEO and founder of iCoTech Services. We'll give it a few minutes to let people migrate from their other sessions into this one. So thanks for those who have joined this first time into an iCoTech webinar. Yeah, thanks to those guys if you've returned to hear me talk again for a second time. Bless you. But we'll just let people, I see there's a few more people in the lobby, so we'll just let those come in. Cool. So hopefully you can all see my screen. I'll kick off and yeah, we'll jump straight into it really. So yeah, so the new project management tool using Microsoft 365, iCoPlan. So yeah, today I'm just going to take you through a couple of slides really just to set the scene, talk to you about who iCoTech are, what we do, our background, I guess also a few slides in here to just set the scene on what iCoPlan was, I guess, built to try and resolve or kind of, I guess, combat. So let's just jump straight into it really. Any questions throughout the session? I do ramble and talk, and I've got no one to hand off to either. It's just little old me. So if you did have a question and you wanted to ask a question, then please do feel free just to interrupt me or even just raise your hand using the Teams function, or even just add a kind of question into the chat. One of the other things I just would ask, could you just take a moment to open up the chat, the meeting chat, and just to let me know whether, like, what kind of exposure you've had to Project for the Web. So even if it's just none, just put none. If it's kind of, you know, if you've used Project for the Web a lot, then just put, you know, expert or professional or whatever. Just give me an idea as to the flavor of the usage experience of Project for the Web for the audience on this call. Thank you for Martin to be the first one over on doing that. Thank you very much. Great. So I'm glad I asked that question because everybody, well, the general consensus is none, which is cool. So I could just take my time going through some of the Project for the Web features, and I guess yeah, it's pretty useful to know. So thank you very much for doing that. So what do we do here at iCoTech? So iCoTech Services, we're a Power Platform partner for Microsoft. We're a gold partner in project portfolio management. And really what we do is we specialize in delivering project portfolio management solutions using the Power Platform, which is utilizing Project for the Web and Power BI, Power Automate, and all those solutions. That's really what we're good at here at iCoTech Services. We use the kind of Power Platform for most of the things we do now, and we have a consultative approach. We've got quite a unique way of working with our customers. Leslie, can I have a copy? Yes, of course. We'll share the copy with the slides afterwards. No problem at all. I'll delegate that action to Gemma and to John, so no problem at all. But yeah, we have a consultative approach that we use here at iCoTech Services. So we do things in waves. We don't try and ask our customers what the whole end-to-end requirement is. Because I guess most of our customers don't really know what they're trying to achieve in the whole kind of journey, the whole requirement. So we break things down into waves, and we use an agile, iterative development approach to kind of develop these tools in collaboration with our customers. So yeah, that's who we are and what we do, I guess. Who we do it for? Our clients. I'm really proud to say that we work with some really great organisations here in the UK. So we work with the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, Intellectual Property Office, the Department for Environment, Food, or DEFRA, ONS, Oxfordshire County Council, a number of organisations as well that are not on that slide. We really need to update it at some point, but I actually don't think we could fit them all on there anymore. But yeah, we're predominantly public sector, but we do work with the likes of Legal & General as well here in Cardiff, and Masonite, who sell doors. So if you've got a new door or a new property, you've probably bought a Masonite door. So yeah, we work with a whole range of people, including, we're really proud to say that we work with the NHS as well here in Wales, which is really great. Oh, Nicholas seems to be stuck in the lobby, so I'll delegate that one to I'll try and press admin as well. Let's see if we can. Yeah, she does. Okay, we might be stuck there with Nicola, unfortunately, but I'll proceed nonetheless. So Let's start at the top, really. Why would we build a project management solution? So, in my experience, I've been a portfolio practitioner all my career. So, started off in Joking Welsh Water as a project support officer, went on to Lloyds Banking Group as a project manager, and then left Lloyds Banking Group, went on to Babcock International Group, where I was delivering projects, programs, and ultimately a portfolio of business and technology change across the world for Babcock International Group, which is really exciting, and had many scars in delivering bad projects. I guess some of the key problems that I found, and also our customers have found when they approach iCoTech, is actually keeping track of all activity, not just major projects. So we all talk about change management in organizations, and how do we keep track of programs, of portfolios, of projects and change activities in one place, and how do we get one single source of the truth is a challenge. Most of our customers, when they come to us, will have looked at Excel or a SharePoint list or whatever it might be, and maybe they've got different SharePoint lists or different Excel spreadsheets, and it's just a nightmare to keep track of all activity in one central location. So project artifacts is also a common theme and a common challenge. So your risk log, your issue log, your assumptions log, how do we keep all that in the same place? And I remember being in Companies House as the first kind of my first iCoTech gig, if you would, and the CEO came across and said, "Joel, I want to see all the risks across the portfolio, please, and I want to see them by Friday." That was just horrific for me, my worst nightmare, because that meant that for the next 3 nights I'd be at home with my bottle of red wine, copy and pasting Excel spreadsheets, or trying to do some clever lookup or if and equals and all this kind of stuff to bring together all the 55 spreadsheets that were across a SharePoint site that had all the risk logs on them, all in different formats, all using different formulas. It was an absolute nightmare. And the point was, even if I give this to you and I do this work, it's going to be out of date the moment I give it to you, because risks are changing throughout the project life cycle, so and that period of time. So how do we keep everything in the same place, in the same location? And again, it's coming back to that philosophy of using a single source of the truth, really. So how do we decide what projects to do next? Prioritization was always key. So as a portfolio manager, program manager, project manager, you're prioritizing your activities every day, but how do you understand which projects you should do next and start next? And we've got a simple model for that, but it's a start for 10. It just allows you to do some simple prioritization, but this technology allows you to build complex portfolio prioritization mechanisms as you work through iCoTech and develop on that technology. And then how do we keep keep track of tasks across the portfolio of projects? So everybody's got a schedule, and maybe in your examples or your use cases, you're using Microsoft Project and you're using it as a standalone file, maybe stored in SharePoint, and to be able to access that project, you're having to have a license to access that project file, and your users, your program teams, maybe your business analysts, your developers, your solution architects are all going to different plans to understand what's been assigned to them, what's been assigned to me as a resource to do this week for the project community or the portfolio, and that's a big challenge for me. Lots of the customers that come to us are using Microsoft Project or using Excel and have no single central place to keep all their tasks in, and iCoPlan helps solve that, which you'll be pleased to hear. So how do we report on data? So data in, data out, it's got to be usable, it's got to be real-time information, and getting the data out is really hard. All of the customers that approach iCoTech are saying that they're putting their data in a PowerPoint presentation, that they're copying and pasting from Excel, they're copying and pasting Excel kind of tasks from their Microsoft Project file, they're PDFing the PowerPoint, making it look good, putting their rags on there, some narrative, and then sending it to a sponsor or a stakeholder to review, consume in a project board. All that goes away with technology, and having the right technology in place where you're able to see in real time the current status of the report. And going back to Companies House, I remember the same CEO came back to me a couple of weeks later, walking down the corridor saying, "Joel, the infrastructure refresh project has gone red." And I'm like, "Is it? Has it? Whoops." I should have known that as portfolio manager. But actually, the night before, on Power BI, she's looking at the status report and the health of the project, and she's seeing real-time information, and then catching me out the next morning. So it's not about people presenting information to an audience or a group of stakeholders. It's about the group of stakeholders being able to consume that data and that report and that output in a visual way at any point in time, 24/7, really. And yeah, I think for me that's a really fundamental shift in a way in which you can use the tools. Keeping track of what stage the project is in. I remember being a project support officer in Welsh Water. I was 20 years old. Yeah, I'm really fortunate. I'm really thankful I got the job, but I don't know how I got it. But yeah, I'm sitting there like 6 weeks into my role, and I'm kind of building a gate checklist for gate 2, full business case. I'm sitting there going through my gate checklist, saying to the program manager, Nick Morgan, who's got 20 years experience on me, senior individual, experienced, seasoned program manager. And I'm saying to him, Nick, have you done your business case? He said, yes, Joel, I have. Have you done your comms plan? Yes, Joel, I have. Have you baselined your project planning project? Yes, Joel, I have. Well, you can now go through to gate 2, So he's like, oh, thank you. So, that's the role of the PMO, is to police and to support and to govern, I guess, the projects and where they go through that life cycle. But what if you can standardize that, automate that? And it's you're really helping us, supporting the projects to steer through the next stage of the life cycle. Is some of the kind of common themes we're having with our customers, where they're saying we don't really know where these projects are in the life cycle, and there's different life cycles as well, so it's even more complicated, and we can't govern and control what projects are allowed to go or should go through to the next stage in the life cycle, and so on and so forth. So there are some of my common problems. Yeah, and be open if anybody's got any objections to any of that, or anybody wants to throw in another one that maybe I haven't thought of, because we're definitely not. I'm not perfect, but I guess this is our problem, how we perceive it, and really the fundamental parts, particularly since COVID, is collaboration is key as part of any organization, any project. You've got to have multiple people from multiple stakeholder groups interacting with the project life cycle, and it's difficult to deliver projects, and either people in different locations, different resources, all working together to achieve an outcome, and if you've got disparate sets of information in different places, then it's very challenging to do so utilizing technology, utilizing iCoPlan to do that, I think is a great step forward for any kind of portfolio office. So Leslie, I can see your question here. Thank you for asking that. Do you cover anything on dependencies? So dependency mapping, yeah, we not in this session. In the project itself, I can show you how iCoPlan allows you to link tasks to each other, so task to task dependencies. But Leslie, if you've got a specific requirement for kind of cross-project, cross-program, cross-portfolio dependency mapping, then we have done that before. For a customer, I can't show you that today, unfortunately, but I can have another call with you later on, Leslie, next week, and just show you some of the examples of dependency mapping and planning across our customer base, I guess. There's lots of examples like that where this tool is not the kind of finalized product. It's an accelerator to get you off the ground and add some value initially very quickly, and it does a little bit of everything quite basic in its capability. It's designed therefore for you to consume, use it for a couple of months, and then configure and customize to your specific requirements. And dependency mapping is one of those ones that's kind of where we say is a lot of configuration, and yeah, I think that's kind of but into task into task dependency mapping is something that's in there, and I'll show you later on. Cool. So hey, I'm a project portfolio manager, technologist at heart. There's other options here, I guess. You could just go and use Excel if you really want to, but you can't do any of those things or solve any of those problems that I suggested earlier. Although I did see actually from a healthcare organization the world's most complex spreadsheet the other day. I think it did scare me. I mean, they did kind of do most portfolio management in one spreadsheet with all their projects as tabs, loads of if statements and sums, and they were coming to us because they just couldn't cope anymore, bless them. But yeah, you could go and use Excel for this if you really wanted to, but I don't think that's the right solution if you're delivering projects and portfolios on a large scale. You could use Planner for kind of simple task management, etc. And you could stick with Project Desktop and have all your kind of project files in one place, and start storing them in SharePoint. But you hit limitations when you're trying to integrate that together. When you're trying to see all your tasks in one place, you can't do that if you've got individual project files. Project Online, you could go down the route of Project Online, but it's an older architecture. You can't template it. You have to build it from scratch, which iCoTech do for customers. But it's not as versatile. It's not as as useful, and yeah, it's not as I guess friendly, and it's not a good technology choice for the future really. So Lisa, thanks for the question. If you are using Project Desktop, can you access them via Project Web? Ooh, okay. Microsoft don't do us any favors here, Lisa, in terminology. So if you're using Microsoft Project Desktop, as you've got a single MPP file stored on your documents, for example, and you've got that you can't then go and share that via Project for the web. You could use Project Online to publish that plan into Project Online and then share that task, that schedule with other users. But you hit limitations. You get because it's such an old architecture. You get the philosophy of check in, check out, and publishing. So in SharePoint, you may know that you can check out a document, so you retain that document, nobody else can change it. It's the same with Project for the Web. You have to check it out to you, edit it, and then publish it back up to the reporting server. So at the same time as you check it out, you've got it hold of it. Nobody else can change that or access that and make any changes to it. So but most of our customers now are realizing that Project Desktop is overkill for them. And actually Project for the Web planning is much more sufficient for medium scale technology and business change activities. All right. But again, Lisa, if you've got any kind of specific questions on that, or you want me to kind of show you some of the options outside of iCoPlan, I can show you that, no problem at all. Just drop me an email or reach out to the team, and we can set up. I did put some slides in here to kind of talk about these options in more detail, but I'll whittle through them. Everybody knows what Excel is. Interesting, you can download a template for a project planner in Excel if you didn't know. If you want to have fun and games with that. I just grabbed some of these slides from a previous webinar just to show you some other options. iCoPlan, of course, isn't for everyone. But Planner, if you're managing one project alone, then yeah, go ahead and use Planner. It's a great little solution. And you'll notice some of these charts and stuff from Planner are starting to come through in Project for the Web now as well. Microsoft are really accelerating the Project for the Web capability, and it really is progressing. I saw some roadmap activities, some roadmap strategies in a conversation with Microsoft a couple of weeks ago, and it was really, really useful to see. So I'm just going to go to the next slide here. So Project Professional, if you're not using Microsoft Project, I would suggest you can have a look at it, because if you're on Excel and you've just got one project, then Microsoft Project Desktop is suitable, and it can be used. And then Project Online, as I said, is kind of like that old SharePoint architecture. So Lisa, to answer your question, if you were to use Project Online, each of these records here is a project itself. And when you click that little Gantt chart button there, it opens it on Microsoft Project Desktop on your desktop application. But that's effectively checking it out. And then you publish it back into this server effectively. So you can see from the user look and feel, it's SharePoint 2013 type architecture and user interface. So that's why we don't really use it anymore. It's really hard to configure. Takes ages to build. Hey, we love it. That's where I started, was Project Online, but it's not the latest and greatest. And then Project for the Web. So based on everybody saying you had kind of very limited experience with Project for the Web, it's really important to understand that Project for the Web is just a planning solution. It's just a planning app from Microsoft. That Project for the Web solution can plug in then to what we call a Power App, which gives you the ability to manage a set of records like lists in SharePoint. It gives you the ability to manage your project as an entity itself, not just a schedule. And I'll reiterate that later on when I come to show you iCoPlan. It's just really important to know that some people might be thinking, well, how do you manage a portfolio of projects or a program of projects in Project for the Web? Because whenever I go to project.microsoft.com, all I get is this simple planning board. I'm not really sure what that gives me. But yeah, we've got to try harder, I guess, as a partnership from Microsoft to articulate that it's designed to put the Power Platform wrapper around the outside that allows you to do portfolio management, and that's what iCoPlan is. So yeah, great. Next slide. What is iCoPlan? So it is really a PPM solution, it's a project portfolio management solution, although it's an accelerator. It's not meant to be the finished product. And we took that decision strategically at iCoTech because I recognize every portfolio related job I've had there's different requirements for portfolio management. The same practices, same principles, same foundations, but actually everybody does requirements differently. Everybody does risk differently. Everybody does planning differently. So there's no point trying to build the one size fits all. If you want that, go and buy monday.com. But we this is about being able to buy an accelerator from iCoTech that gets you from A to B pretty quickly. And then the idea is then you could figure that over a few waves with iCoTech, or you could do it yourselves if you have that capability in house to manage your portfolio and make sure your programs and projects are in place. I can see my head of sales is probably head and hands at this moment, the fact I referenced monday.com. But yeah, it is what it is. iCoPlan is built on Microsoft 365 technologies using Project for the Web and the additional features such as task management. It's built on a Power Platform. It is part of Azure integration, the Azure technology stack, and it uses Dynamics 365 kind of back-end services that we all don't really see. But integration, data connections is massive. This, if you're using Jira, Confluence, Azure DevOps, or TFS as it used to be called, Miro, all those type of services. We have the ability to integrate ServiceNow. We've just done one of those. Integration is the key here. So it's about creating all your projects in one place and then being able to share those tasks and those attributes. Financial integration into SAP, Oracle, all those things are possible. None of that is in iCoPlan as it stands now. iCoPlan is just that accelerator, and I hope that kind of makes sense. I've literally just copied and pasted the first bullet point. So lesson learned for me. Reread my slides before sending them out. So yeah, but there was a third point of what iCoPlan is, but I'll just move on swiftly on to the demo. Again, any questions through this, please do let me know. Just kind of just come off mute and just ask me a question, interrupt me, raise your hand, or just ask it through the chat as you have been doing. Thanks to those who've done that so far. So this is iCoPlan. I'll say it again, and I'll try not to say it again throughout this session. But this isn't a kind of finished, polished, the final article. This is an accelerator. So it's trying to say, look, here you go, have this. Buy it off iCoTech, and then it's yours. Oh, bless Trudy. I did try and let her in. John, if you could deal with that one for me, much appreciated. So this is in our sandbox environment. This is our pre-configured perception of what project portfolio management solutions could look like as a startup for 10. And we'll just walk through it. Power Apps. So you can see this is in Microsoft 365. So we deploy this into the customer's environment. The customer owns it. You're not reliant on us thereafter to kind of to for any technical resources. Project requests, let's go for this one. So project request is this idea of saying to the business, okay, come and add your latest project ideas. So we use it here in iCoTech for our latest strategic thinking, our latest projects internally we want to do. And one of those things we do sometimes is a marketing refresh on our website. This is a simple form. Every one of these forms is configurable, right? So this is not, we haven't put lots of time and effort into thinking, what could you use it for? What would you use it for? And it's just an example, really, a start for 10. And what this is doing here, this is saying, okay, so what's the request date? What's the priority of the project? Who's the owner, the request, and the sponsor? Some narratives, some details around what this thing is going to do, the business case in narrative form, because at this point in time, our thought is this is an idea request process. This is the kind of strategic alignment and prioritization piece that we put in place. When we first did project online implementations with Betty's and Taylor's many years ago, who manufacture Yorkshire tea, it was a simple kind of 5x6 model that we put together, which came up with a score. Many of our customers now will move on to having strategic alignment as a separate category up here, and actually putting their strategy, the strategic aims and objectives, into the system, and then weighting those. And it's a good way of pointing your requests to strategic themes and objectives, because ultimately that's the total point and purpose of portfolio management, right? So this is about coming into this and saying it's actually going to really align to our strategy. It's kind of got a lower cost-ish. It's not really going to improve for employee retention, but it's really low risk. So I've answered some questions. I've pressed save. press refresh, and that number should update at the bottom there. So it's gone down from 50 odd, whatever it was before, to 37. Had a slight heart attack then, thought it wasn't going to work. This is simply about doing some high level forecast cost benefit, a simple ROI calculation, and out of the box it comes with some ability to say, is there funding, is it internal or external, but all of our customers will take each and every one of these forms and say, I don't want that, but I want this, and this is how I do it because this is how my spreadsheet works, for example, and so on and so forth. Definitely need more Red Bull. So one of the things we've done then is create this create project button. So what this will do is it'll take this record and go and create it as a project in the system. I can see someone got their hand up. It's a bit weird. I can't tell who has got their hand up. James, here we go. James, did you have a question?
Yeah, just something, Joe, relating to this UI that we're looking at just now. This marketing, the project request button.
Yeah.
Would that be presented to the wider array of colleagues outside the likes of a business change team or a project management team? What kind of authentication would we be looking at for something like this?
Great question. Thank you for the question, James. So yeah, this is inside the Power App itself. The idea for us is that this is used by maybe change agents or sponsors of change across your departmental functions. You can, if you wanted to open up to everybody in the organization, we would use a different app. We'd use a Canvas app, and we just replicate this form on a Canvas app and chuck that on a SharePoint list or an intranet page. So that those are your options there. Our thought here was that, in our experience, not everybody's allowed across the organization is allowed to submit a change. Otherwise, it just gets unmanageable. But there's normally change agents type resources across our customer bases that are, say 10 of them across the organization that will do these requests based on their relationships they've got with their businesses. But if you had if you had a requirement to say, I want everybody in my organization with 3,000 people in it to go and submit a request, we wouldn't open it up in this way. We would do it in a different way. Does that make sense, James?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our projects are almost hindered at the beginning or at their inception because we've got teams across the authority who are coming to us with potential solutions or ideas, but then begin stakeholder engagement and investigation, technical, that kind of thing. And something like this would certainly shave off a lot of that initial time spent, I guess, in trying to find out exactly what the requirement is to begin a new project. So I'm just curious.
No, thank you very much for the question, James. Much appreciated. And some of our customers will take this through a business process flow, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But it's basically a series of bullseyes across the top. So you could say this idea has been submitted, this idea has now been reviewed, and you could promote it through to the next stage, just like a life cycle in a project. And you can go to review and have automation in there as well. So it goes through a proper life cycle as a request in its own right. And then only when it gets to the end of that stage and that life cycle does that create project button become available and appear, and the portfolio management team or PMO office or administrators of the system are able to promote that to a project. I would show you, but I just don't feel comfortable because I haven't had explicit permissions. But we have a similar request for or system built in Legal and General, and they have a Canvas app that they fill out their form, and then they submit the request, and it goes to a sponsor to review and approve. And it's a nice visual form on the Canvas app that allows the customer to see, or the submitter to see, where their request is in the process as well. We all hate submitting a request and not knowing where it is in the process, so we've done that with them. But James, if you kind of interested in that kind of stuff, just drop me an email later on. I'm more than happy to show you that on a one-to-one basis. No problem at all. But thank you very much for the question. And as I say, any other questions, just interrupt me. No problem at all. So this is requests, and you'll see here from this UI and interface, you're able to build views. So you can have all project requests here, you can have just the active project requests, and you can even build and bring in different columns as well. So you could add in the departmental column in here in the future as well. So which department is this project request come from? You can add other fields in here. You can even reorder the way these apply if you really want to, and then you can start to kind of create and save your own views. So you're building up your own bank of custom views in this form. So I'll just show you that. So this is project requests. I'll just call it JM just because I'm not 100% sure what the fields are called in here. So you just save this, and this is functionality is available across all these attributes of the system, right? So that's my view I've just created. So all project requests is here. Notice how prioritization scores on the right hand side, and JM requests, the prioritization scores here. You can move these things around to your heart content. You don't need to develop this into the system. All right. So the next thing I want to show you then is portfolios. So as a PPM practitioner, really projects feed into programs and programs feed into portfolios. That's kind of broadly how it works in a broad brush, but you will get sometimes projects reporting directly into programs as well. But we wanted to build the architecture, the baseline architecture of the solution and the tables and the relationships and the schema of the database behind this to have kind of portfolios, programs and projects, just because it kind of covers all angles. So there's not a lot in here at the moment, but this is the idea of creating a portfolio. Some of our customers that do have, say, 5 or 6 portfolios, and they are real portfolios with different strategic objectives, a different part of the global organization, will have portfolio managers, and they will sit in here. And obviously, it's developed out to have lots more content in here. But this is the ability to see all my programs, what the health of the program is, and as a portfolio manager, I am managing my program managers in that kind of model to run my portfolio of change. This is the ability to escalate risks. So these 2 risks have been escalated from the programs within. There's no risks at the portfolio level at the moment, although that's not real. We all know that there's always a risk. So you're able to manage your risks here at the portfolio level. I'll move on quickly just because of time, and also I think that the nub of it, that the iCoPlan really kind of comes to life in the project level. But this is our customer programs essentially, and you're able then to manage your program in a single entity in itself. Again, the business process flow could be applied through here, and we could, if you want to, assign a task tab to here as well, so we can use Project for the Web for managing the schedule of a program. And I know that in my kind of experience, you had a program plan and then you had all the project plans underneath, and the program plan had its own element. So you're able to kind of use that if you wanted to. Not all customers do that. Some customers just want to collate the projects underneath it, but you have the potential to do that as well. So this is taking, just standard fields. I won't go through these in every detail, because you can see these are kind of fields that are populated. So the sponsor of the program is Toby, and I'm able to save that, and I'm able to kind of interact with this, and customize. We can customize this on deployment to your specific requirements. So you might have a SharePoint list you're using now, or Excel, and certain fields and attributes you want to create. This just gets kind of reconfigured quickly using our automation solution to get you your configured version of iCoPlan. Budgets. So what we wanted here when we were designing this was the ability to create a budget as a record rather than the budget as a point in time kind of artifact. So a program has a budget. In this example, it's a very simplistic budget, but we can, and all of our customers actually from iCoPlan at the moment, will map this out and actually have like a budget builder effectively. So like, what's your CapEx budget, what's your OpEx budget, what's your kind of your profiling of that. So this is my outline business case budget. The status of that is pending. For example, I want £100,000, please. And actually, FD was feeling grumpy that day, so he only gave me 70 because he didn't see the benefit of giving me the other 30. Volbinaire. So comments. This is going to FD next week. All right. So this is a budget. It's just a simple record for now, but the point is the architecture there, the hard work's been done, so you can modify this and start building out a proper budget calculator. James has asked a question: where are the names being populated from? Azure AD, or so it's Azure AD. So if I just go back to save and close this, we should take it back to the program. Cool. I'll go back to summary. So you'll notice that there's what I call, technical word is gobbledygook coming up here. So if you just try to put Toby in, there's lots of random stuff that comes up in this demo environment, just because we've got lots of like kind of other services in here. But you can design this however you want. Here we go. So you've got these different kind of environmental kind of accounts, but you can restrict those that drop down to be a set of users. They have to be a sponsor in order to be in here, or you can have it global as it is now. It's everybody, or you can define a preset list as well. So we can configure that, James, to kind of any requirement that comes up for users and drop downs, etc. Cool. So I'm just gonna put Toby back in there, and the next thing, so finances. These are finances that are being rolled up from the projects that relate to this program. So these are the projects that relate to the program. So we've got 2 projects here that are in amber status, and actually the financial data is being brought up into this program essentially. And hopefully you can see that obviously you might be sitting there thinking, well, but does it do this and does it do that, and how would it work for me? But I do things differently. That's the whole point. It's a little bit of something that allows you to get value out of it straight away, but then configure it in time to meet your specific requirements. And it's super easy to configure as well. So the next thing we wanted to do when we designed this, one of the principles was status reports. So I talked earlier on about status reports being perhaps a PowerPoint document that's PDF that's stored on SharePoint. Even yesterday, we had a customer come on a call saying, I want to be able to export all my reports and put them into PowerPoint. I'm like, whoa. That's not what we do here. We don't do that. You're going to put your status report into the system, and you're going to create a status every week, automatically or manually, for the project or the program. You're going to add your narrative in here. So demo completed. So let's do supplier selected. Sorry, these are really boring. This is not my worst. I started to do one the other day on a demo about the heat and buying fans. It got crazy. So this is overall rag, time rag, cost rag. We'll make it red. This is really bad. So this is the ability to create a status report. So you're not doing it in a Word document or a PowerPoint slide deck or an Excel spreadsheet, or you're doing it as a record itself, so we can do things with it in the future. Most of our customers will use automated rags, which is one of the things we do, which is taking the data in the system and then telling you what the rag should be based on the criteria that the PMO has set. But again, some people want to add a kind of subjective rag as well for the PM in here. That's no problem at all. And that's about saying the system is saying that this project is amber, but actually I think this project is red or green because of some unknown thing. It gives the PM, I guess, a voice, because it's not all objective in that space, as we know. So this is now going to create the status report, he says. It's always a heart-stopping moment when you press these things and you think, please work. And we're just going to refresh this quickly. And we're just going to go back to status. Spoke too soon. And this is the latest status of the project. All right, the program here. Now, what we could do is projects all have status reports as well, and they all come up in this view here. Every status report for program or project gets into one data source and one data table, and then we can see the trend over time. Then, as you can see here, you can see the trend moving over time. So that's really important for us, as those things are standard records. They're not an extract, it's an input, and then we're able to do things with that in the future as well, like taking out in Power BI or wherever it might be. Just like the portfolio management, risk management for program level, you've got your own program risk log, and then you've got your escalated risks from your projects to your programs, so on and so forth. We even have the ability here to download these artifacts or these risks programs into Word documents. So we can take the data out and it will automatically populate a Word document. For example, we've done a PID before, so project initiation document has been built using the kind of template feature, and you can press export and it will go into a PDF document, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So let's get to the nub of it, the good stuff. So this is projects. So this is where most of our customers will start, is putting all the 50 or 60 or 100 or 300 projects into iCoPlan, and migrating their plans across this solution, putting all their risks and issues and actions and decisions all into this solution, and start doing the highlight reports from iCoPlan. That's where 9 out of 10 customers will really start. Program management, portfolio management comes later on in our experience. This is like your portfolio view, portfolio dashboard. So I remember Company's House had a big Excel spreadsheet with all the projects in there. It was a nightmare. People used to go in there and butcher my spreadsheet, and it used to frustrate the hell out of me. And you had no idea who moved it, who changed it last. But this is a view of all the projects, and again, you can start adding in some of the information that you would want to see very quickly. You're doing that for yourself, and so on and so forth. I'm just going to try and find one here. I think it's the sponsors, the example that I used previously. Executive sponsor. I'm worried it might be empty, but the point is, you can start. It's actually difficult. You can start to build your views, save your views, cut and slice your projects. Give me all the projects that are actually only in alpha. So equals alpha. All right, and so on and so forth. So that's the project, and I might want to create this view now as all projects, in alpha. And I can start to build up my slice and dice of the portfolio very easily. I don't have to do it in Excel. I don't have to ring up a tech team to go and do it. It's just there. All right. Active projects. So we're going to look at Project Vulcan. So this is a project, all right, and you can see here the business process flow has now appeared. We can apply that to the programs and portfolios, as I said earlier, but this is the ability to manage a project through a series of stages and a life cycle. So you're effectively, building the gate checklist, as I articulated earlier. This is a simple one. Actually, it's very, very simple, but you can make these as comprehensive, as complex as you like. Have a narrative, have sub workflows, have kind of clever calculations in here as well if you really wanted to, and so on and so forth. And you can see here is tracking how long this project has been in the stage as well. So we can see over time how long it takes to complete a stage, for example. So on average, how long does it take to complete alpha? How long does it take to complete discovery? And you can start to get that MI out of the data that's stored in the system without you really even asking it to do that. So this is some of the information on the project. The assigned to, the sponsor, the description. Again, every single one of customers who buys this office will just configure this, and on deployment will look different. But let's get to the nub of it. So this, and what I tried to mention earlier is that Project for the Web is just the planning engine. So everything you've seen up until now is not Project for the Web. This is Project for the Web that's come up here in the task page. So the Project for the Web is the engine that allows you to create your schedule. Then the Power App platform sits around the outside of it, which enables project portfolio management. So hopefully that makes sense now. But this is the ability to schedule your project. You can see we're doing things like assigning resources to the project or assigning owners to tasks. We're doing planning via duration, and we have some exciting developments in terms of dependency management in the future. So doing finish to finish, start to finish, all those kind of different types of planning and dependency management within the project itself, which is really cool and exciting to see. You can actually add your own custom columns as well. So you can add your own custom lookups and change your dials. You can build dependency management. I think it was, apologies, it was Lisa earlier that asked the question. So you can see I've linked all my tasks together here because I like them all to flow through. So if I'm moving one project out to the right a little bit, all my other projects it's dependent on, he says, frantically trying to find one that he's done earlier. All these project finish dates are moving out to the right at the same time. You've got effort attribution as well, so you can start to say that actually this task is going to take 42 hours of effort and so on and so forth. And you can actually add your own columns in here as well, which is a new feature in Project for the Web. You've got a most recent one, which is priority, which is really important as well. So you're mapping your priority, and you can see some of the kind of columns I was creating earlier. Is it HR related? Yes. And you can start kind of do some conditional formatting as well. So that's really, really cool. So labels, the idea of labels is like Planner, where you can go into the task. He says, open the task and actually add a label. So I created one earlier called TDA. Let's take the pink one and let's call that CAB. We all love a acronym, don't we? So wrong one here, Joel. So this one's going to be CAB. And then in the future, if you've got a few tasks that you're labeling as CAB, you could start to filter these out in the future and start to apply logic and filter to these. All right. Yeah, so that's Project for the Web, and I'm really excited by this. I mean, 6 months ago, I would probably still be here talking to you about Project Online and some other services available in the Microsoft technology stack, but Project for the Web is now where everybody is going. It's just the roadmap for it is very impressive, and we're feeding back to Microsoft on a daily basis as to how it's being used and how our customers are receiving it. So yeah, it's definitely the future planning tool in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem that we would suggest. The idea of buckets, if anybody's used Planner, you're putting tasks into buckets here. So this initial setup for project is in the bucket of analysis. I can go onto the board here if you like, scheduling in your Kanban board approach. Well, I can find that that task. He says, where is it gone? There he is. Initial setup for project. You can apply some filters, which is a bit I was worried I'd applied some filters previously. But initial internal setup for project. I'm going to move that across to workshop. Right, and then that task, he says, fingers crossed, should move across to the workshop bucket. So you've got, I like working in a list, in a task view, but some people like working in a Kanban board approach as well with buckets, and that's fine. So that gives you the ability to customize, configure, and move all these things around as well. So I can add dependencies. All right, so you can build some of this in, which is kind of, it's not brilliant in this space, but you can do it. I prefer to do it in the grid view, and you can add attachments to tasks if you really want to. Although I would suggest you don't add lots of attachments to lots of tasks. That would get a bit crazy. All these fields we added earlier, they're all here in this view as well. So you're adding these kind of custom fields into your project at your heart's content, and you're able to manage them here. You've got the idea of checklists as well, so like a sub checklist to a task, although I think that gets bloody complicated if you start having tasks with checklists. But if you're using Planner and you're used to doing that, you can use that here as well, no problem at all. Loads of things, notes, labels, it's all there. I think if you're a seasoned project professional, project practitioner, I look at this and we manage now all of our projects at iCoTech through Project for the Web, and we have no problems with it. It's much better than Project Desktop, in my opinion. But if it doesn't do a few things that Project for Desktop does, but it will do soon. The other thing it does then is timelines, so we can bring these out and move this out, and we can start planning in a timeline way, which is quite cool. So being able to move tasks across and have the others shift, great if you're on a big kind of screen in a room and trying to collaboratively plan, then using these type of features is awesome as well. And you can actually export it to PDF as well if you wanted to, or export it to Excel. Of course, you've got all the filterability, and you can even show the critical path if you designed it. Although I think in this example, everything is critical path. Maybe, yeah. So, you can do some of that kind of filterability and showing the critical path as well. So you can even say, well, give me all the tasks where the finish date is in the future, and it'll filter this pane by all the tasks where the finish date is in the future, or give me all the tasks that are on the bucket workshops, which is the one we used earlier. So there's internal setup for project, and that's the task filtered by this bucket now as well. And then, as I referenced earlier, charts, that's a new feature in the last couple of weeks. Charts has come out. Not 100% sure why you'd use it. I guess if you wanted just a bit of MI on your project, then great. But it's showing you here that most of the tasks are in the workshop bucket, and Chris is busy, bless him. He's got all the effort attributed to him in this example project. All right. We've got things like milestone trackers. We can take a task and make it a 0-day task, and it becomes a milestone automatically. That's a bit of configuration we've added, just because you could do things with milestones in the future. So you had like a discovery milestone, an alpha milestone, or beta milestone. Then you could just start kind of bringing those through, copying the task across to the milestone tracker, and then adding further attributes to it as well. Work packages, we just added it in this in is just a simple work package register. And then project finances. It's taken the same concept as programs where you've got your project budgets, and you're able to kind of have different versions of that budget over time, which again is it's a principle decision made at the start. We want to see this here. And again, status reports. So a project has the ability to have a status report, and you can do these automatically. Someone asked me the other day, could I build it so it schedules every Friday at 10 o'clock, it creates a new status report, emails it to the project manager, says you need to create a status report, here's the link, and then every Friday at 5 o'clock sends a PDF version of that to the sponsor. No problem at all, we did that for that customer. Assumptions, this is kind of your standard RAID log now. Nothing too clever in these type of things, but so there was my July heat wave risk that had a buy fan as a mitigating action, which I thought was quite comical. So we just put the ability to track as an opportunity, escalate it, the status, categorizations, trend if you want to do kind of trend analysis on these things over time. And in this example, it's just a simple 5x5 model. So it's a very high likelihood. It was a very low likelihood, very low impact, and hopefully this will turn to green. There it goes. So, and we've got the principle as well of using a current risk assessment and a target risk assessment, and treating these differently. The other thing we'd like to do as well and build into the system is the ability to create actions related to risks, so mitigating actions. So you're able to go and create actions in your risk, and you're able to go and to drive these through them. But as I say, every customer will do these differently. I just saw a question pop up, so I'm just going to take a quick sip of my Red Bull whilst I read it. Add text boxes. Context report. Yes. So can I check whether you can add text boxes A portfolio report, so context can be reported. Yes, so a portfolio report in Power BI does have text boxes. Yes, James. Yeah, sorry, that's Leslie. So yes, so in Power BI we have a status report which has the boxes of the context. So when you're adding your context in here, you are if I go back to the project Vulcan, when you're doing a kind of portfolio report almost, we in Power BI we've got it so that it's kind of more statistical analysis and statistical reporting. You've got 50 projects that are in red, 2 projects that are in green, and so on and so forth. Your portfolio is red overall, but then there is a project status report which has this kind of narrative here. So overall narrative, time narrative, route to green narrative, and some of the actions in there as well. But yeah, anything's possible in that space, Leslie, no problem at all. You can, even if you wanted to use it, kind of export to Word function if you wanted to get back. Some of our customers will say that their senior stakeholders don't want to go into Power BI, they just want to report in PowerPoint, but I want to create that automatically, and that's okay. That's okay. So one of the real benefits then of seeing everything in one place or putting everything into the system in one single view is that you can see all the tasks across the portfolio without even running a report. Yeah, so the data table here is just showing you all the tasks across the portfolio. They're assigned to me in this view, and I'm able to edit this column, just say, okay, give me the project it's related to. All right, close that, apply. Here's the project that task relates to. I'm going to move it up because I like my project on the left-hand side, my task, and then my created on. And actually, I want to know my due date. So let's do, or finish date, I think it's called. So finish date is here. To apply that, he says, fingers crossed it loads. Come on, it's a bit slow, but here we go. So this is my finish date. So these are the project, the task, when it was created, and when it's due to finish. All right, and you could even, I saw bucket earlier, so let's do that again. Insert in this. I'm creating a report, an extract with no code, no Power BI, nothing. It's just easy to go and see all those project tasks across the portfolio. Now, thousands of projects in the system, and I'm seeing them, all my tasks in one place. All right, and I'm able to create that view and say my open project tasks, so call it JM for now, save that, and I come back to it later. I can use these views then to create that as my default view. So when I come back into the report, I don't know if I moved away too quickly, it might be too hasty. There we go, it's my default view now. All right, but actually today I want to go see someone else's task. So all project tasks. All right, I'm going to come in here and just do owner, I think it is. There we go, owner. Close that. I'm going to put the owner next to the project task name, and I'm also going to add the project in here. When I was doing portfolio management in Excel, SharePoint list, this was horrific to try and get this data. You're exporting Excel, you're mashing the data, doing V lookups and H lookups, whatever the hell they are, and you're doing this stuff. It's just a nightmare. So yeah, these are all the projects, all the tasks across the system that are for every single project in here. And then I'm able to go again, create the all project tasks JM view here. And I can start to even filter these out, and you can use these filter buttons up here. Sort. You can actually even build more complex logical filters as well, all in one place. All right. Have organizations found it difficult to get users to adopt this? No. I guess when we go through a wave of work, Leslie, it's really about change management adoption. So we're change practitioners ourselves, and for us, it's about usability. This is quite broad, but the point is through a discovery with iCoTech and then configuration, we're almost turning things off where people don't need it. Most of our customers will feedback and say it's a hell of a lot better than what they had before. It's almost kind of moved them to a different perspective on portfolio management, and to see the data in one place is brilliant. Well, there's other options as well. So if you've got a really big portfolio of work, you could build different versions of the app. So you could have like a small app, a small change app, which might only have projects and maybe some risks in there. And then the other version of the app might be the major change app, which has got everything in here and bigger and more functionality. It's the same kind of system, but it's just in different lenses in here. So yeah, and I think it's all about going through the process we adopt in an initial wave with iCoTech to make sure the change is landed appropriately. But But this is now Active Directory. Refresh is the create PID task, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm actually looking at. Sorry, I clicked the project rather than the task. With the create PID, this is the task itself. So the task that's in the schedule board is actually a record within the system, and it's got attributes against that. So we can start integrating this with your DevOps. We can start pushing this task out to different places. We can even add these tasks to queues, so like service queues, like support queues. There's so much we could do with this task now. We could use Power Automate to notify you when it's due. There's so much we could do with this technology by having all the tasks in one place in the Power Platform, if that makes sense. I've just noticed the time. I told you I could talk forever, and I could literally keep going for another hour if I wanted to, but I got to go and get the kids. So I'm sure you guys have got busy days as well. But at 5 to 5, I'm pretty much done really with what iCoPlan can deliver and offer you. I just go and pick up this in terms of the status reports as well. Same principle of task. All the status reports in one single place. So I was going to ask, great question, Martin. So if you've got any questions, just come off mute, ask me a question, no problem at all, or just put it in the meeting chat and I'll happily answer any questions that you've got. Martin, so project operations is really for revenue generating organizations. So where you're billing for your project work, you could use and probably should use project operations. But most of the customers that we find coming to us at iCoTech are not there yet. They're not generating revenue from their projects like iCoTech does. And we almost feel that there's project operations is at the price point that you would effectively need to be doing that on mass scale. So we do deliver project operations, and we can apply iCoPlan's configuration to project operations. But if you know project operations, you'll know how it's kind of a level up in terms of, large scale, financially driven, revenue generating projects is what I said. I think if you refer back to Martin, if you saw the shed, kind of who we work with, most of the customers we work with are, not in that space of generating revenue from projects, and don't want to go down the route of kind of integration with ERPs and stuff like that. If you're using Dynamics 365 as an ERP, by the way, then this is just an obvious bolt-on in my opinion. And yeah, I think project operations it's got its place. I love it. We use it, of course, for generating revenue from projects as well as iCoPlan. So yeah. Please would you revisit the resources tab? Would this help you manage scarce resources? Yes, we can link it to a resource planning tool, and we have built, resource planning tools across the wider enterprise, Leslie. But there's nothing really I can show you in iCoPlan that does it here. Resourcing is one of those things like into project dependency mapping that we've got the capability to do it, and we've got the components to do it, but we haven't kind of standardized it because it's not something we want to do yet. We don't think there's enough kind of standardization. Every customer does resource management differently. But Leslie, if you want to reach out to me separately, or the team here at iCoTech, I can jump on a call with you next week and just show you some examples of resource management, because it's not really out of the box. It's one of the more advanced features. Thanks, James. Yeah, has anybody else got any questions they wanted to ask me at all? Happy to answer any questions that you've got. If you want to put it in the meeting chat or come off mute, but no, it looks like we're pretty much done. Cool. Well, thanks for joining. It's much appreciated. If you found this useful, I'm glad. I'm happy. If you've got any other questions, then please do let me know. You can always reach out to me at joel.markham@icotechservices.co.uk. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just contact us at info@icotechservices.co.uk as well. And yeah, we'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. iCoPlan is kind of, I guess, a useful tool for people that want to accelerate and get off Excel and get off SharePoint. But hey, I'll stop talking about it now. I'll go drink my Red Bull. But yeah, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining. It's much appreciated. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much for your questions and your engagement. Really do appreciate it. Cheers, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.